Good morning. Welcome to a rare early morning edition of the Steelers Sanctuary podcast. I'm Leeann Lohman, joined by Zach Franciscus, Bob Quinn, and Dave Rivera. We're here on a random Wednesday morning to talk about the first episode of Hard Knocks in the AFC North, which aired last night on HBO. And we all had a chance to watch the episode. Guys, what did you think?
I loved it. I've been waiting for this since they announced it. Any behind-the-scenes stuff with Mike Tomlin, I can't get enough.
Were you one of those fans that had been hoping we would do it for years and years and years?
Absolutely. Mike Tomlin's great. He was made for this. It's so entertaining and so motivational. Who wouldn't want to see a behind-the-scenes look at the Steelers? I loved it.
Yeah. I think he's going to win even non-Steeler fans over. Do you know what I mean? Maybe not AFC North fans, but, like you might watch like the Miami Dolphins and you enjoy, seeing some of the stuff their coach does or whatever. So I think he's going to win some people over that aren't as familiar with him. What do you think, Bob?
I've never really been a fan of the show. I enjoyed it last night. I think Tomlin comes away. I think it's very intentional that they'll make Tomlin look good. Number one, it's hard not to make him look good in a setting like that. It was interesting that he let them a little bit in because from what I understand, at least from the Giants Hard Knocks episodes was that the team had final cut, yet they exposed a bunch of stuff about Daniel Jones. So now looking that they released him, it was all intentional. I think it's very intentionally set up. Not that it's fake. It's intentionally set up to make Mike Tomlin the star because I don't think he wants the highlight on his players. Yeah, they kind of did the predictable Cam and Connor kind of story. I think we all wanted to see a lot more of George Pickens, especially about the penalties. And the only thing was after the interceptions. So, and Dave and I were talking about this before we started. That may be intentional to kind of set it up as it goes along. There were some other interesting things, too, that I'm sure we'll bring up. But overall, I thought it made the Steelers look really good. Mike Tomlin is obviously the most compelling personality of everybody on the show. I thought Jameis Winston in his little things looked pretty good. But, and the other thing I was struck by was, man, is Baltimore boring. I mean, they're just a boring. I don't understand how – might be intentional, but I don't understand how you're going to feature that team.
Yeah, that was the struggle with Baltimore was real. I was kind of surprised. I expected a lot more. They have some big personalities on that team. Do you know what I mean? So I expected more from their segment than we got, but wasn't totally surprised that Harbaugh was not very exciting. What did you think, Zach?
Yeah, it was. There was such a stark difference between the Steelers and the other three teams. Like, I don't care if you would have spent like half of the time on Pittsburgh, we still would have stuck out. There was an obvious difference in professionalism and the way. There was a second there where I think I wondered if Harbaugh forgot what he was going to say in the meeting and said, "Oh, well, I better say something. The cameras are on." But that's legitimately how it felt there. And even if it was intentional, that's the best that they found of the footage so far. I'm like, that's iffy. But I gotta say, I heard ahead of time that they were going to focus a lot on the Haywardness, and I was worried I'm like, oh, going to be a little campy, a little overly. It was perfect. I've been watching Hard Knocks since the first year it came out, and they do have a tendency to get either over dramatic or have strange parts that you're not sure why they included this. I loved every second of seeing the Haywards together. And the only thing, it made me feel a little bad about how harsh I've been on Connor for a bit. I'm like, oh, I feel really bad now. Oh, I have not been nice.
I have an interesting correlation to them because I lost my dad when I was young, and like Cam, do you know what I mean? My sister's much younger than me, so she was still at home and she was still fairly young. So, I was headed out on my own. And so the way it impacted the two of us is very different. You know what I mean? So hearing him talk a little bit about that on the show, I guess I knew that Cam was 17 when his dad died, but I guess I didn't realize like how much younger Connor was, and that Cam would have been like off to college and not there a lot during his formative years. So to hear him say that they've been playing together for 3 years and they've never played together before, I mean, it seems logical now, but I just had never thought about it that way before. Yeah.
I loved him calling out the Cincinnati Bengals protection and saying Alex Highsmith wrecking them is the reason they brought in Orlando Brown. He just kept repeating that over. I'm like, I love it. Keep saying it.
All that stuff to hype Nick Herbig up to climb Mount Olympus and Zeus and all that stuff. That was fantastic. That was, and then for it to work out that way where he got the, you know what I mean, got in there, got past him. I think all of that stuff was fantastic. Did you hear in the beginning he said like he may not know your name now, but he better know your name on Monday.
There it is.
Yes.
Yeah, Tomlin sticks out of these 4 coaches, right? He's so much more.
He really does.
He's so much more like entertaining and motivating than these other 3 coaches. The other 3 are so dull and boring. I don't know how these teams get up for games. Harbaugh was like.
I wondered that. They had one of the, I don't know who's, I can't remember if it was the Bengals or the Browns assistant coach was up talking and getting the guys motivated. And I was like, I'm not feeling it. Like we were talking, we were doing our stuff and I was getting hyped up, and even some of the other stuff I heard, but those, man, I was like, yeah, it's just not there. How about Keanu Benton's hype speech? I thought that was really cute.
That was
talking
good.
about how he had like a bad game and he'd been down about it all week, and riding in, all he could think about was like, this is his dream. And so I thought it was neat to see like a young guy like that, like pumping, trying to pump everybody up.
Yeah, sometimes you forget they're human beings, right? And they have bad days and good days and bad weeks and good weeks. And they're vulnerable to that stuff too. I know we kind of kill them, but we don't really know the backstory. So that was kind of fun to hear that part of it.
Yeah, that was the human side of it. Yeah. Relic said he's been itching to see backstage stuff on the Steelers. Other teams I've seen of like how to feed the team or the Pats do your job. I want more stuff from the Steelers. I love that stuff. I got to agree. I do. I've been one who hasn't really dying for the Steelers to do Hard Knocks. That hasn't been on like my list of things I want, because I worry about things being skewed. You hear that with other teams, and I don't want negative drama. So I was pleased to see that it felt, at least with one episode, a little bit more positive. Did anything surprise you guys?
I was very surprised they highlighted the Pickens bomb with the great catch and immediately stopped. They didn't follow through with the penalty. They didn't follow through with the reaction to the penalty. I thought, and it could be, if it's true, if the rumor that the Giants had final cut is true, it could be very true that Tomlin said that's not going in.
Steelers use their veto power on that for sure.
Yeah. They did show the not called DPI on that interception, and you heard even the announcer, whoever, say that was defensive pass interference.
Yeah, Sterator coming in, but it didn't change anything.
Yeah.
I also thought it was interesting that we know for a fact, because we saw the video, when Tomlin, they kind of said, "Are we done? Shut that door behind me." There was the "get this shit off of me" that didn't make the cut. And again, I think that's where we know there's veto power in there. But I think it was as compelling as it could be. I think the Steelers will go out of their way to try to make sure there's not drama. But I mean, the show is predicated. The show just can't be, hey, it's all sunshines and rainbows, unless they're going to use the other 3 teams as the drama. And that's why they did a divisional thing. Hey, we're going to force the Steelers in, but we know they're not going to let us see anything. So we got to have the other 3 teams who might.
Drama. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think they're going to try to make that AFC. Do you know what I mean? Those matchups. They even teased it a little bit about, Minka and Jamar Chase. And,
Jamar Chase.
Stuff. So seems to me, I know that I did an article on it over Thanksgiving weekend. The guy from NFL Films said that like the office is full of Steelers fans, and they've been dying to do the Steelers for years, and they're so excited to finally be able to, be in there.
Yeah, something I definitely. Something I noticed that stuck out is it's at least from what it appears like, it's very apparent that Mike Tomlin spent more time than the other 3 teams getting the organization, not just the organization, ready for Hard Knocks. Everyone looked comfortable. Everyone didn't seem to mind where the camera was. Everyone, when you got to everyone else, it's like they were just getting used to it. Like they were still easing into the cameras. And I think that's, I expected more of Harbaugh. Considering they've been coaching around the same amount of time, I expected kind of that preparation level to be there, but that's why Mike Tomlin is Mike Tomlin.
Yeah. I forgot that Harbaugh had only been an assistant for 1 year before he got that job until they said that.
I didn't know that.
I knew that way back, but I'd kind of forgotten that. Relic said he understands why everyone on the Steelers has so much respect for Tomlin. We don't see it a lot, but when we do, it's good to see why they say that. I agree. I thought he really shined. And I don't, it didn't feel fake or forced. Charlotte has a crush on Connor Hayward, so you have to disregard all of her comments about how great he is.
I'll tell you, one person who knew who was on Hard Knocks was that Browns offensive line coach. He hammed it up big time with the F-bombs and kill 99 if he comes through. He was putting on a show there.
It sounded like he was giving like a Leeann speech. I was like, you go ahead. Yeah, that sounded like something I would write up. That was pretty funny. Yeah, I was surprised. That kind of stuff always surprises me. Like, I know they curse a lot and stuff like that, but some coaches do and some coaches don't. And, and that's not like Mike Tomlin's go-to. Do you know what I mean? But he'll drops it in there, and something so eloquent he says, and then he drops in, a curse word is funny.
So the one part that really stuck out to me that I was trying to figure out what he said, because I saw it in the moment, I didn't know what he said, is when Mike Tomlin, after the pick six in the beginning, what he said to Pickens. That moment stuck out to me because there was a father-like aspect there, where it was because he stopped him. It wasn't the talk, it wasn't the sec, it was the third thing. It was he stopped and look at me. It was he wanted to make
he
sure
made him look at him.
Now, it made me a little sad because I don't think it got through as much as Mike Tomlin wanted, and that's why he made the comments afterwards. He's like, "Listen, I'm doing my job. I am telling him, but I can't make him, grow up." So I think they purposely put that in there, and the Steelers left it in to say, "Listen, if this doesn't work out, we did everything we could on our part to try and make this work with this kid."
Yeah, he's got to meet him.
I like that.
He's got to be willing to meet him halfway. Relic said, too, that his biggest surprise was Joe Burrow buying himself the Batmobile. I thought that was hysterical. He said it's going to be like a year or something before he gets it. I saw somebody had put that on Twitter.
Yeah.
It genuinely just made me want the Steelers to hit him more. Joe Burrow irritated me every single second he was on that camera.
I like Joe Burrow. I don't know. He comes off pretty good to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I like him. I have a lot of respect for his game. Like, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of respect for his game. And then I think I like him. And then I hear him talking. I'm like, I don't really like you. I don't know why I keep thinking I do.
I think they went in thinking they were going to make the Bengals the star and then had to rapidly recut it after the Steelers beat them because basically their season got ended. Burrow, maybe we could have one more loss. And they went in, but and it was kind of like, because you could see like the theme of the show was pushing the Bengals are going to be this scrappy underdog that comes out of nowhere. But the Steelers put all that to bed. So it's
they were expected the beginning of the season, before the season started. I mean, that was all the talk. Remember, the Steelers were probably going to be like the bottom of the division. Do you know what I mean? It was all the talk, and the Bengals and the Ravens are going to be the ones fighting for the one spot. And I think, they do have this high-powered offense. And so I think they expected them to be the ones putting on a show.
Yeah, the safest thing in gambling right now, and it's going to end at some point, is every year, or not every year, but the last few years, Steelers are going to fall into the bottom of the division. Steelers haven't finished last in the division since 1988. So take that bet every year, folks, till it happens. I mean, it's been a long time. That's 3 different coaches who have not finished last for almost 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you guys agree with Relic that the drama will come if we lose? And we'll have to see how they handle the loss and how much Hard Knocks will be, I think, allowed to show.
I think
Hard Knocks is hoping we lose.
Yeah.
I think they're hoping we lose.
I think Mike Tomlin gets even more interesting.
Yeah.
Tomlin gets more interesting if they lose. That's even better. I mean, not for us, but I mean, it's better for Hard Knocks. And
right. I agree. I think so too. I think I agree with Zach. I think there's a hope that we lose.
That's a good point, Bob. Because if we lose to like the Browns or we lose to the Bengals, they could pull out the footage they didn't get to use. Yeah. Because they have it just sitting there waiting to use against us. But a quick question, because I haven't seen a lot of team facilities. And every time they showed the Baltimore Ravens, it looked like we were at the beginning of a Hallmark movie where that was the country club that the girl was going to leave to go to the little town. That's
I
what
think
it
the
felt
same
like.
thing.
I'm like, this is not a football facility. It's a country club, and you
Yeah.
guys happen to have football there. It just felt a little strange to me, a little posh, if you want to
Our
go.
sniper said, "Did you see how much nicer the Ravens place was? The
And
Ravens aren't sharing with like the University of Maryland or something. They have their own place out there in the country outside of Baltimore."
It really just, I mean, it didn't look like a football place. It was
No,
gorgeous,
it's
don't get me
not.
wrong. But just the old school, like blue collar football in me player went, Now it needs
Although
to be dirty.
I love the Steelers, like right there, that aerial shot they showed, like coming down the river. Do you know what I mean? Of the facility right there along the river. I was like, oh, I love this stuff. Dark Sniper also said that after watching the show, he realizes just how much he wants just a Steelers show.
So does Hard Knocks, buddy. So does Hard Knocks. They're dying.
Right?
Dying to have the Steelers one.
And I don't think they're going to get it. I think you have to finish with a losing record or
missed the playoffs 2 years in a row. I was looking it up.
Yeah.
So
and not have a new head coach.
Yes, exactly. The next time they have a chance is probably when Mike Tomlin either retires or however that ends.
Then they won't want it.
That next year, they're like, okay, we will do anything to get the Steelers in the first year of a rebuild. Anything.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that's why they came up with this division thing, is to get the Steelers on there. To get a back way around it.
It is. It's some sort of backdoor because, we never meet those criteria to be able to do it the standard way. Relic said that the Bengals place looked like a classroom in a college. And it's funny. I know like opposing locker rooms are not as nice, but did you guys see the video Naj did where he went in and Russell Wilson was getting dressed at the Bengals game and he was like unlimited. And I was like, what is that crappy locker room they're in? And then I realized it must be the visitors locker room at the Bengals facility.
Yeah.
They don't really take care of that much. No, it was just so much more exciting than I thought. I want to see how I react after a loss. Because I was excited to watch this. Like I got home from my wife's rehearsal and I sat down and I watched it right away. If it's a loss, I know it's going to take me a little bit to get through.
Yeah.
Because even last year, my sister's boyfriend and my brother are huge Dolphin fans, and even when I knew a Dolphins loss was coming during that one, it was hard to watch. And so if I know it's coming, especially if there's an injury or something like that, it's for Steeler fans who really enjoyed this one. It's a really rough road, and there's a chance that there could be big injuries or something like that happen. And Hard Knocks is going to have a spotlight on that. So if that's what you're looking to avoid that week, I'm just like my Aunt Sandra tends to do. Avoid Hard Knocks that week as hard as it might be, because it's going to get rough if we lose.
I think if you're a fan, I think it's hard to avoid it either way. I mean, if it's bad, you're going to want to see, okay, what really happened? And if it's good, you want to see, hey, what really happened? I mean, I don't know. I think I still have a nagging suspicion in the back of my mind that half of this is staged and all that stuff. But that being said, I mean, I really enjoyed watching. I thought it was interesting, the defensive meeting. They weren't going crazy on strategy there. They were just saying what we all have said, and I don't think they're going to give away any trade secrets in there. But hey, we got to stop Joe Burrow. We got to stop Jamar Chase. I mean, I think they made it look like Tomlin was, hey, Chase Brown's going to get us if we don't pay attention. Well, you play 6 guys in the box, the running back's going to get you if they run the ball. So
no secret.
Same thing with the Herbig thing. I mean, hey, you got to make a big play on Zoo. Yes, they built it up. Yes, it happened. We pointed out on our podcast that it's an interesting matchup because you got the smallest edge rusher in the NFL going against the biggest guy, south of Darnell, Washington in the NFL. I mean, and honestly, he might even be bigger.
I think he is bigger.
I think 375 against 240. You knew at some point it was going to look like he was running into Brown's arms and just, hey, come here, baby. And there was going to be a time where that speed was going to get Brown.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. I do like the way they set that up, that it's coming. But, again, we all kind of knew that was a key matchup. So, again, not giving away a trade secret, but, Hard Knocks had to love that, okay, they set it up. We got the payoff for the bad and the good. So,
Yeah.
if that happens every week, coupled with a Steelers victory, of course, this could be.
Now, I'm curious, what was your favorite non-Steeler moment of the episode?
Jameis.
Because
I love
Yeah,
Jameis.
me too. Me too.
I did not think I was going to like him as much as I did.
He's super
the
likable.
part that impressed me
very
most was
likable.
a barefoot Jameis just look in there doing going mentally through reps. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
no, you work really hard and good at what you
Yeah.
do.
Thanking the
man.
grounds crew for doing a good job
Yeah.
during the game.
That was
that
was,
awesome.
you know,
I mean, just a class act. Just a class
he's-
act. It happened with the one, I think it was last year with the quarterback show with Kirk Cousins, man. I fell in love with that dude. I was like, God damn, like I like him so much. He's
that
so
quarterback
good.
thing was pretty good too. That was a really good.
Yeah. And there's a
inside
guy
look.
that played for the Dolphins too. I can't remember who it was that was really funny and super likable and, you know, just very accessible. And, you know, it's nothing, it's not earth shattering. You just don't get a peek behind the curtain like that very often. You know what I mean? So as a fan, it was nice to see.
I actually came away with a better opinion of, you know, not that I had a bad opinion of Russell Wilson, but I really thought in the locker room, in the couple settings where he was talking, where he came up to, you know, Mike Tomlin during the game, I thought that came across as very genuine. And I think that's important for Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Not that he isn't, but the perception is that he
Yeah.
isn't. I think showing little bits like that where, hey, I'm not prompted, I'm not the star, and I'm not inserting myself, that's a genuine moment along the sidelines. I thought it was genuine when they had him kind of mic'd without highlighting too much in the huddle, where it was like, okay, it doesn't seem like too much rah-rah, but just enough.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that he come away from this looking good.
Yeah.
Tomlin
I
loves
thought the
Russell
leadership-
Wilson.
Great.
Yeah.
I thought the leadership was really on display there. I mean, you saw, like you said, Wilson go down the bench and, you know, thank everybody and he's hyping everybody up. And you're right, it wasn't too much. But then at the end, when the game was over, I love that he was out shaking hands with fans that were hanging over the side of the thing. And Tomlin waited at the tunnel until all of his players came in.
Yep.
You heard him say, like, is that everybody? And then he came and I was like, man, see, these are the little things that Tomlin does. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Thinking about those guys, not in a hurry to get to like his next, whatever the, you know, he's got a million things to do. So whatever that next thing is he has to do, he's still thinking about the guys and him passing on leadership to Cam too, you know, telling Cam before the half, you know, get your guys, you know, we need to do this coming back out after the half. You know, I love that, you know, promoting leadership in the team.
I think we saw it wasn't a Super Bowl, it wasn't a Super Bowl winning drive, but I think we saw a little glimpse of like a kind of a John Candy moment there from Russell Wilson. You know, really, really big moment. You're in the huddle, you're trying to get your guys up, and then you're making your lineman laugh because in the middle of your play, you stop calling the play, then you hype everybody up, and you get back to your play.
And they kind of made fun of him and laughed. And it was, that was a good moment.
That's what you need. Everyone calm. It was like in the Super Bowl, you know, I was like, oh, look, John Candy there. And then just turns and does the play. That's what it reminded me of. I don't, as good as Justin Fields could be, and he doesn't have that. That's why Mike Tomlin wants Russell Wilson in that huddle. And that moment impressed me and made me feel really, really good about those big moments, that we're not going into it stressed out and like Tom Brady-ish, like in the Patriot time. We're loose and we're ready.
Cam Hayward talked a while ago about how they're both leaders, but like in very different ways. He talked about how Justin's quieter and he goes and works with guys one-on-one, like he was helping Beanie Bishop a lot at the beginning of the season. And, you know, but then Russell's more of like the cheerleader type.
Yeah.
Who's in our chat saying?
Yeah, who got the Bengals
win?
fan in the chat? What's going on?
Yeah. We have a special thing we like to play for people like you, Quinn.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that on us.
I'd say Quinn's here saying we're 0-5 for the rest of the year. We're making the playoffs.
Well,
Relic brings up a
because
good,
you did that, we're not losing again.
right.
Yeah.
He brings up a good question. Do we think that Hard Knocks AFC will show if anyone is traded at the end, people getting cut like they did with Vontae Davis? He said, I don't think Mike T will allow that. You guys
if they cut,
like it would be a private moment.
If they cut somebody at this point, it's going to be a story. I think they'd end up showing that. I'd find it hard to believe that they wouldn't. I mean,
I
I
think
can't
it's
see them cutting anybody, but
I think it depends on who they cut. I mean, if it's a practice squad type mood, I mean, the trade deadline's passed. There's nobody getting traded. So, I don't foresee a big cut. I mean, there's I can't think of a guy who's really a starting player at this point. I could see a guy maybe going to IR for the rest of the year. That could be
a big injury. Yep.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if any of you guys saw something that made me really, really happy is I was looking in the groups of people in plain clothes celebrating. Cole Holcomb is on that sideline.
Oh, I didn't see that.
So
I saw that.
Typing, and he looks genuinely. And when I saw that, I'm like, okay, there we go. That makes me really, because the Steelers are a team where we're not just going to toss him to the sideline and say, hey, do rehab. We hope it goes well for you. We'll check it. He is there. He's still rehabbing back from a very nasty injury. And there he is in the cold, which has to hurt that knee.
Yeah.
Hyping his guys up. I saw that several times. Hey, Dave, when you go back, watch that. You see Cole Holcomb, and you know him because of the big mullet and the big beard that it's Cole. So loved it. I really like seeing it.
Quinn comes back, all jokes aside. Do we trust our offense for a Super Bowl run? Defense and special teams is great.
I'm getting there.
That's why.
More after they were able to put up points against the Bengals. Does that help?
I'm getting there with this offense
every week, but we prove we can win every way. And Super Bowl caliber teams have to win in all three phases. The 2001 Patriots won a big part because of their special teams. So we're going to beat you in some way. And by the way, watching Justin Tucker miss was one of the highlights of my week. Yeah. I could watch that over and over again. It makes me happy.
When he was talking to the media.
Oh,
but he's such a smug son of a bitch. I don't.
He really is, though. He really is.
There it is. Even the way he walked in and just a trench coat, just a nod to the fans, like, yeah, I'm Justin Tucker. Like, yeah, miss.
Here's Relic with one of his random takes. The Steelers should have never let go of Zach Banner. Bring him back. I like Zach Banner a lot. He's a really nice kid, but
he would have probably been very entertaining on this.
He would have been.
Yeah, definitely. I think we saw Tomlin and Russell Wilson have a special connection there, right? They seem to really be on the same page. Tomlin loves him. You could tell through this thing. Even when Nick Herbig had the strip sack, they went right at each other and congratulated each other.
Yeah, they obviously
There's something there.
I told you, Arthur Moat said he kissed him on the top of the head. He's like, that's the sign. He's bringing him back next year. That's all I needed to do.
Because for that one game, it was pretty much him and Mike Tomlin out on a limb together. It's like, well, we're on this limb. It's going to break. And so that bonds you. That has to. Sorry, Bob. I cut you off.
No, it's fine. I was just going to go back to the offense for a second. I mean, if you take away the snow game in Cleveland and, it was a bad half. He played a bad half against the Ravens. For the most part, Russell Wilson's been really good. So, I mean, the whole trust on the offense, I mean, I get it. We're scarred. I understand. But, every week it gets a little bit better. This was a step. We need to see what they look like against the best defense they're going to face, which is Philly. If I have no doubt they can move the ball on the Ravens. Hopefully this time we'll score touchdowns instead of field goals. I think we're going to need to win that game. Yeah, I think Kansas City's defense is really good, but I think our defense can shut down that offense. So they could win an ugly game in Kansas City. They could lose, or against Kansas City. They could lose an ugly game against Kansas City. Philly is the test. If we put up points, even if we lose, but if we're in the points, if we're in the 20s and we lose a close game, then I think with the way the AFC is, the NFC is clearly better. Philly has the best defense to me in the league right now. We're not far behind, but Philly has the best defense. That defensive line is ridiculous. That second is getting even better than we thought it would be. So, yeah, I want to see the Philly game. If we can make a showing in Philly, and again, if you follow the show, I've said this multiple times. We have not beaten Philadelphia in my 56 years of life. So I want to win. I want to win that game more than anything, but at the same time, I just want us to look good because we have never looked good that I remember in Philly. I remember Ben in the
Looking good would be nice.
Yeah.
We did look awful.
Yeah,
No,
we've been not even close. It's been over by the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
I
And
think
by the same
the
token,
Hard
if they
Knocks
struggle
will
in
be-
Philly, it's everyone struggles in Philly, so it's not like it's going
It's
to
not
be
a death knell if we don't
yeah.
look good, but if we do look good, we should get really excited because
yes, 100%.
there
I
is
agree.
no defense we're going to face in the AFC that rivals that defense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the Hard Knock cameras are going to be trained on Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. They're going to have like 4
Oh,
people.
yeah.
You
This
just
is gonna
watch
be
them. If either of them go off, we are going to be ready because they're going to hype that up. More
Well,
more
all
than
they focused
that.
in the game that we lost was
Yeah.
everything Myles Garrett did. You saw clip after clip of it.
Yeah.
Yep. And I don't like his smile, so not a fan of that.
He's the least likable guy, right?
There.
He really is.
Miles
yeah.
Garrett is the least likable guy on Hard Knocks this season.
Yeah, and other
I
guys
can't
like
stand him.
Aaron Donald and stuff like that. Like I can like him, I can respect him. Do you know what I mean? But with Myles Garrett, like he's ooky. Relic had his own comeback for Quinn. He said, "Hey, now the Ravens beat the Bengals with the same defense the Steelers play against, but Lamar is so hot. Oh my God, MVP season. The Steelers beat the bad Bengals defense. Blah blah blah. Steelers are Super Bowl bound.
We are averaging
28
28.7 points with Russell Wilson as our quarterback. That is, we remember the days when we begged for 20 points and 300 yards.
No, I haven't forgotten that.
So we have progressed. And I saw NBC. It might just be one or two people, but we're being called Super Bowl contenders, and I like that. I think we deserve it, and our Hard Knocks is going to like that. I'm excited about this next episode. So as long as we win, because if we lose, it's going to be hard to watch.
I don't think Lamar can win the MVP if they lose 2 more games. 1 more game is iffy. I don't think he can win it as of right now, because even if the Bengals or the Ravens win out and finish 12-5, Josh Allen and the Bills are going to win out. I think Allen is the clear MVP. It's his year if they finish the deal.
Yeah.
They go 14-3, 15-2. I don't see how
he's winning it. He's winning.
Yeah, I don't see how you can give it to a guy on a team that probably doesn't win the division.
Yeah, he would deserve it. Dave, are you missing Kenny Pickett?
No. Relic knows me. He knows I was down on Kenny Pickett from the draft all the way through. No, I do not miss Kenny Pickett whatsoever.
I miss him.
Well,
I desperately want to see him when we play Philly.
I was about to say we got a Philly.
That'd be nice.
Gonna play that up.
Things are going well if Kenny Pickett's in the game.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But overall, I give it an A. I enjoyed it, and even the parts I didn't enjoy were specifically put there to increase the drama. Where it wasn't that I didn't enjoy, it was just kind of I was like frustrated in ears. But I'm so excited for the next episode.
Yeah,
really am.
I do think the AFC North is really special, and I don't know if that's just like skewed perception because it's our division and I feel that way, but I don't hear other fans from other teams. Do you know what I mean? I lived in DC for a long time, and I know that there's fierce rivalry with, the Cowboys and the Giants and the Eagles, but it's not the same. It's just not the same. Cowboys and Giants fans in particular are not as passionate as AFC North fans. Quinn says, who would we rather see in the playoffs, Chiefs, Ravens, or Bills?
That's a great question.
That is a great question.
Well, I think the AFC goes through the Bills. So
I
think
don't want
we're going to start off against the Chiefs. We're probably going to start off against the Ravens. That would be my best guess. At least if everything holds. Now, if we're first seed, then I don't know. But right now, I'd say most likely Ravens. And then we get to the AFC North. We are definitely playing in Buffalo.
Is that who you want
we're that number one.
or who you think we'll see?
Who do you want to watch? Who do you want?
No, it's who I want. I think those. I always want the best when it comes to the playoffs. I want to when we get a Super Bowl. I'm really weird, and my family doesn't like it either. I'm really weird. I want those best teams because I want us to prove that we deserve to be there. So I'm very strange when it comes to that. So not a lot of people enjoy that.
I want to win.
Well,
so whatever our path is with the win.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens are the 5 seeds, so the Texans are going to get the Ravens. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we're probably looking at the Chargers or the Broncos or the Colts. So I'm happy with any one of those 3 in Pittsburgh. Now
we played all 3, right? Yeah, we
will have
the only one out of these we wouldn't have played is the Bills. So
I wouldn't mind
that's
seeing the Colts and Anthony Richardson in Pittsburgh. Andy was a tough
Ooh.
get. I don't
Yeah.
think we'll fall behind 17-0 again.
Yeah.
Of those three, though, a lot of people would say the Chiefs. I'm not so sure. Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick
Mahomes is
Mahomes.
scary. He
Yeah.
I mean,
finds
if you,
ways. The
if you
refs
see the
help him
Ravens,
out.
you're at home. So I would think
Yeah.
the Ravens.
Yeah, the Ravens, especially with the familiarity. And one thing that struck me is I think Tomlin has this division wired. He knows these teams. He knows how to beat them.
yes,
He's very comfortable
Very
playing
much.
them. So
very much.
if I had to pick of those three, I'd pick the Ravens, I think.
Yeah.
It's all
And
I don't, know who
I-
brought, I don't know who brought Fred to the party, but he thinks Kenny Pickett starting and beating the Steelers while we're being featured on Hard Knocks is exactly the kind of thing that would happen to the Steelers.
Hey, Fred,
In any other year,
I'm gonna need you to come back to the.
I don't know if I
chat.
could watch the episode after that if that
Yeah,
happens. I think I'd have to
we'd
walk away.
skip it. I'd have to
Yeah,
skip it.
hold on. We need to play this for him.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that on us.
Sure, we need to get rid of that. None
Kenny
of that.
Pickett beating us would have.
Yes, I
In
agree.
any other year, I would. Sorry, Zach. In any other year, I would agree, but not.
This year
season
feels
doesn't have
special.
that feel. Yeah.
Yeah, this year feels special. It just does. It feels special. I haven't felt like this in, I don't know, maybe since the Seattle Super Bowl was at 05. Yeah, this year just feels special.
No, you're right. It does, and maybe that's why I think they expected to watch a Steeler downfall and to look at what a rough Mike Tomlin lost control of the locker room, and all of a sudden they're like, oh no, now the Steelers are good. So they're doing their very best to readjust. I like that you said, Bob. I do think they're having to readjust and scramble. This is a good year to have us there. Because if we do go somewhere and this is something, look at the record that we have behind the scenes of what kind of a season it was. So it is special. That's very true.
Yeah.
I like that.
Much better than last year. I thought about that when I was watching it. Can you imagine if we were watching this shit last year? Like miserable.
Oh man, that would have been brutal.
Oh,
Brutal.
just
Hard Knocks would have
terrible.
loved it though, because there's so much drama with Kenny Pickett and all that stuff.
Yes,
and
Mason.
They would've loved it.
Mason stuff would have been awesome.
Yeah, no, that.
Yeah.
The rest of it, fuck that. Yeah, no thanks. All right, guys. Any final thoughts? What are you thinking we're going to see on our next episode next week? A big giant win against Cleveland for sure. That's
a win.
A nice Browns
Yeah, a
blowout
win.
would be perfect.
Yeah.
Steelers blowout the
talking-
Browns. Would be
This has
specific.
got to
Talking
be
about,
like an angry revenge game.
Clinching scenarios. I want to see early. This will be early in the season for us to start seeing clinching scenarios, and I really want to see those. So and they'll talk about that, and they'll start bringing up little blips of who we could play and all that. That's going to be exciting to me, and it'll start making it real. So I want Hard Knocks to help make the realization that the playoffs are legitimate this year. I like it.
I think they're salivating for the stretch. The Ravens, Philly, Kansas City stretch, or the Philly Ravens, Kansas City stretch. They're salivating for that. I think that's what this whole show is building to. Because after that, it kind of falls off a little bit where, okay, the Bengals are probably not playing anybody and, we can come through that. If we have clinched the division after that 3-game stretch, I think we're all having a Merry Christmas. And clinching with a win against Kansas City would be the ultimate, capper to
that would be delightful.
Yeah, that would.
Fred can stay now. He says he thinks we'll represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Relly said before we go, he has a quick question. When do we clinch the North and a playoff spot? The NFL posted the Chiefs clinched the playoffs.
Probably in the next, not this week. We're not going to clinch anything this week.
If we win against the Chiefs, right? Win this game.
Well, if we win, we're 10-3. Baltimore's 8-5. Then we both start.
That's a 2-game lead with 5 left, right?
Right.
I mean, you theoretically, if you beat Baltimore, no matter what happens, in between, if we beat Baltimore, the likelihood is we win the division.
Because they said if we win 2 games and one of them is Baltimore, we're in.
Yeah.
We're in.
This thing's going right down to the wire. It's going right down to the last game of the season.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it'll be over one way or the other for the division after the Kansas City game. If we're playing for the division the last week of the year, that means we lost to Baltimore. I don't think we're going to lose to Baltimore. So, I mean, we could lose in Baltimore. We have lost in Baltimore. I just don't think this is the year we lose in Baltimore. I think the only iffy game to me right now is the Philly game and maybe the Bengals game if we've clinched and nobody's playing.
Yeah. I think we're definitely making the playoffs.
No, the playoffs is a done deal.
100%. Relic says the NFL page says we're 99%. I think, I can't imagine the stars aligning in such a way that like the Bengals and Browns, I don't know. I guess they'd have to win out to edge us out. I don't pay that much attention to what their track looks like, but I just can't imagine that happening.
The Browns aren't mathematically eliminated, but they can't finish above 500. Right. So I don't think there's any way the Browns. I don't see the Chiefs, Colts, the Colts, Chargers, and the Broncos collapsing all to under 500. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bengals, if they win out, is a maybe.
Yeah, they're a maybe.
There must be a scenario if they beat the Browns, they clinch at least a playoff spot this week. And I have to go look at it.
No. There's no. I just checked. You mean the Steelers?
Yeah.
Are
they far enough ahead of the
scenarios? There's no clinching scenarios. No. If we win another game, any of the other games, and then beat the Ravens as well, that's all we need for the
rest of the division. Yeah, but I'm talking about just straight playoffs.
Yeah.
I think anything but the division is a disappointment. Don't you guys?
I agree. No, I agree. Yeah. I think we'll get both probably. It'd be nice if we got both, but I think in week not week 14. I think week 15 we're going to start seeing clinching scenarios for us if we beat the Browns. So I
really want to win a playoff game. Like I'm focused on that to the point where, I want to win the division and that's important. But if we lost the division and won a playoff game, I would still consider the season really successful and like a huge step forward. So
I just want to the playoffs are right. I didn't expect to be this. I'm not used to being this close. It's a very strange place.
I'm so tired of the narrative that, about Mike Tomlin's no losing seasons and then not winning any playoff games since the 2016 season. Like enough.
Yeah. And the Ravens get the Giants coming out of their bye. So it'll be interesting that week where hopefully, knock on wood, we're 10-3, they're 8-5. They get the Giants, we get the Eagles.
Yeah.
So
Well, they got a very easy rest of their schedule where we got bullshit.
Well, I don't think the Texans game will be easy.
No, but I don't think
the Texans are not the same team. They stink.
Yeah,
they're terrible.
I don't think it's not 4 games or 3 games in 10 days or whatever it is.
They do play on Christmas Day too, though, right? They play a night game for that.
Yeah, they do.
They play us and then play the Texans.
Yeah.
I think that if the theory holds that Steelers Ravens after they play each other, and this is on short rest, don't play very well, doesn't bode well for us against Kansas City. But I also don't think it bodes well for the Texans. Texans are not the same, but they are clearly the division winner. Yeah. And I want to say it's in Houston. So, that offense coming off a banged up, I don't know. I also want to see what happens with Kyle Hamilton. I know he came back into the game the other day, but I think he's severely banged up. I think he's one good hit away from being out for the year. And if that happens, Baltimore is cooked.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem if he's still hurt. All right, guys, we will be back. If you come today and chatted with us about what you thought about the show, we really appreciate it. We will be back tomorrow night, Thursday night at 6:30 to do our preview show for the upcoming Browns game. And then you guys do your legendary pick show Friday at
6:30.
You guys are
8:15.
8:15. Okay, there you go. So we hope you come back and join us tomorrow night at 6:30 and chat it up about the Browns.
Just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.